Hello, everybody. It's Dina at the Realize Foundation, and today I'm here with TJ West, or Timothy
How
J.
you doing?
West. So, welcome, and we're excited to talk about TJ's story. It is a very unique and special story that I think will resonate with people who have disabilities or have things in their trauma maybe that have has changed their life in some way, and I think he'll give you a lot of insight. He gave me a lot of insight last time we talked, so I'm excited to have you here and have you um, talk about your story, TJ.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity as always.
Awesome. So we're gonna talk about TJ's story that he wrote for our upcoming Scars to Stars book. And so I want to ask you a question, and that is, can you let everybody know kind of what your chapter is about? And you can say as much as you like.
Sure. So when I was approached with this, didn't know exactly what I wanted to talk about, but it kind of because for a long time I wasn't as vocal about who I was and what I've gone through because of shame and many things. And um, when I was approached about this book, I was like, wow, it's a great idea because one of the biggest things I am advocating for is mental health. Um, and I've dealt with it for a long period of time, even when I didn't know exactly what it was. And my story kind of primarily focuses on my disability, which is my eye condition. I'm legally blind from a condition called Steven Johnson syndrome, and I talk about kind of the ebbs and flows of um, starting with a disability or just starting as a child and then succumbing to a disability, and then as time going through schooling and the challenges that come with that, and just in life, what my disability and how it's affected me, and then how that correlates with the mental health. Because most people, I would say, most people in general have some sort of mental health, but disabilities, it's kind of like an added package when you automatically have a disability. And I just wanted to kind of get my voice out there and another or type of avenue, and book form, I suppose, just to share, what people with disabilities go through. And I'm just one story, one of many, and even people with the same story as me or same condition as me, excuse me, have a different story. But I'd like to just show how what it's like to have very little vision and still be able to kind of navigate through life and make life work for you, because the world isn't really made for people like me, but we find ways to survive and thrive and do wonderful things with it. And yeah, and then just kind of maybe towards the end of the chapters about the podcast and how I got to that and how I've kind of found my voice and why I do what I do, and what kind of motivates me to try to help others and inspire others. I guess that's
Well,
a good
thank
answer.
you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing. I was going to ask you next about your podcast and to tell people maybe how you got that started and what kind of content there is they can find there.
So yeah, I started it 3 years ago, almost a couple months from now it'll be 3 years, and I started it just to get my voice out there to try to share who I am, what it's like to have a disability. In the beginning, more specifically, my condition, or the visual impairment, and just mental health were the two things I really wanted to primarily focus on. And then I had a friend who died of heart failure, and I wanted to like tell her story, and what she meant to me because she never got to tell it. And just tell the people, interview like my mother and grandmother, people that were close to my situation and the times when I was so medicated and nearly dying, the parts that I couldn't tell. And then I don't know, along the way I started to kind of search and do research on what the disability community is as a whole, where it was, where it is now, and look at like similar content like blogs, YouTube channels, podcasts, and things like that. And I realized that it was kind of disorganized and it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. and I wanted to kind of do my part to try to bring us together in my own way by finding those with different conditions. They can have similar conditions. I've had people on with not only visual impairment and blindness, but Steven Johnson syndrome, but just find people from different ways, walks of life, and try to show, you know, let them know what they go through and how they overcome it. Because I'm really big on showing or revealing, people who um, are like you. And as a person who felt alone for a long time, feeling alone is one of the worst things you could feel. And I want to try to be a good representation for people like me, whether it's disability, mental health, whatever, a man, whatever. I don't, whatever someone, gravitates toward, however I can help. And then if I can't help you, maybe I can find somebody who's like you. Of the opposite sex or color or disability or some other trauma like domestic violence and homelessness and things I've never experienced.
Mhm.
Yeah, the goal is just to try to help people and just try to have a good conversation and have some fun, but also, talk about some really taboo, dark, sad subjects, but also try to end it with some positivity.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. And another, we were talking, or maybe I was listening to one of your videos, and you were talking about how you had maybe interviewed or had friends that had dwarfism. Is that correct?
I have two friends, yes.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is because in my former business, when we did events, we
Mhm.
did a conference for the little people of America. And I learned so much from that group about what they deal with on a regular basis. And it was a lot of um, conversations around their needs for us to be able to plan stuff for them when they came to Denver. And it was eye opening to me in so many ways. And I think it's just, we never know what someone else is dealing with. And sometimes it's a visible thing and sometimes it's not. And so it's, like you said, we just want people to know they're not alone and that there are people out here that are willing to have the conversation about anything.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about the show is that I go into a lot of these interviews. I don't know anything about these conditions. Just because I have a disability doesn't mean I know what it's like because I'm so consumed with
Mhm.
my own problems.
Yeah.
So I like to learn myself. And so, like dwarfism, like I think the two I learned the most about is dwarfism and Tourette's because we kind of focus on stereotypical things. Like with Tourette's, we focus on the people who just curse. But the reality is like that's like an anomaly. There's not many people that actually do that. There is. It's a form of Tourette's, but there's so many different ticks. And I have a friend, Rebecca, excuse me. She she's from England, and she literally will just start punching herself, and she actually hurts herself, and she goes through and there's times where she will be enamored with something going on. She sees a puddle in the middle of the street on a highway. She will run to that
Mhm.
puddle unless someone grabs her. And it's like people don't understand the dangers and all the things and just the ticks. Like if they snap their neck back after a while, they actually do damage to their head, their back, their neck. And the same thing with dwarfism. It's like a lot of times, I mean, I've seen arguments where people made a case that they weren't even disabled because they can see and hear, but that's not the case at all because you're not meant to be that small. And so they end up going through a lot of physical problems, especially like with bone structure issues and,
Mhm.
born with all kind of defects. And it made me learn a lot about it because, and again, I wouldn't necessarily say I was ignorant to it because I never judged them, but I didn't know all these things, and it inspires me to keep going because I'm appreciative. I don't compare like, oh, eyes to size or whatever, but I go,
Sure.
wow, like I'm grateful that I don't have that problem, and it makes me appreciate even like blind people. It makes me appreciate that I do have some sight. Um,
Mhm.
and it makes me enjoy and appreciate life a little more, even though I do go through mental health issues where I do struggle. But
Mhm.
in my days are a lot shorter with those issues now because I've gotten stronger and more equipped to battle these issues in life.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. And yeah,
Yes.
when we did that conference, we had a whole we had rooms that were specifically for medical stuff for them to see certain doctors while they were at that conference. Um, and families who had similar problems would meet and talk about, their whatever it was that they had in common. Um, so it was really incredible to see how they how they function and how they live in a different way. And like you said, people see them and they look like normal people and they function like normal people, but they're smaller. And people who just see them don't understand what all the problems that they do have because of that, like you said.
Yeah,
And so
and
it's really,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
go ahead.
I no, and I like to get rid of the stereotypes too, because one of the things I was looking for, and I found someone finally, is a female perspective of dwarfism. Because when I was trying to find a female advocate, all that comes up is these sexualization, this fetishizing of
Mm,
women, and because there's so few of them, I think she said there's like only 68,000 or 64,000 people with dwarfism. That's in the world. That's not in America. So if
mhm.
that's the case, and then that's all you see, like it really kind of devalues and
Yeah.
everything that they're trying to accomplish. And to get her perspective was really nice, because that's not what she's doing, and she is, a woman who's trying to be powerful and show strength, and not just sexualize, the movement like
Sure.
it has been for so long. So like I said, I'm big on finding representation that's key for the subject matter that we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to, partner with you however we can to help get people help or get people the resources they need, whatever that might be. And like you, I don't, I know a lot about depression and anxiety and PTSD and some other mental health things, but I don't necessarily know um, some of the things people struggle with different disabilities either. So
Right.
I would like to learn more too.
And honestly, like, it's been an argument for a long time, but I really believe mental health is a disability in itself. It's just because of how much it impacts you. Like, I know so many people that are actually paralyzed, and they'll tell you that the thing that paralyzes them the most is the mental health, where it's like they don't want to ever get out of bed because they just want to cry, or they just want to sit in their mental filth. They don't want to move. They don't want to get to their chair because it's such a struggle. They do it because they're stronger than that. But yeah, I know a lot of people who feel that it is a disability, and I'm kind of on that same feeling there, because it is something that, and some people have it worse than others. Some people it's a phase, or it comes and goes. But for some of us who've been through so much trauma and PTSD and anxiety and all these things, when it happens, it doesn't necessarily just go away
No, it
100%.
doesn't.
So I do believe it is a disability.
Well, I would agree with you on that, and I think it's even myself, I have those days all the time that I don't want to get out of bed, and it's very. I'm a very driven person in many ways, and so like you said, you just do it because you need to or you have to. But if I lived by myself and I didn't have to work, that would be very bad for me. You know what I mean? Like the fact that someone needs me to be on this call and the fact that somebody needs me to show up at work kind of saves me from myself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and being around other strong people,
Hmm.
interacting with other people who, that's the thing, because I think some strong people tend to feel they always have to be strong. And I know there's this thing with guys where we have to have this bravado, but I don't even, it's not just that. I've known many women that feel the same way, where it's like we feel like we have to be strong for everybody, and it's hard for us to show weakness. And it's not that it's not necessarily even shameful. It's just we feel like there's like a ricochet effect. If people see us weak, what is that going to do to someone else? And it's not the case, because it's okay to cry. It's okay to want to punch a pillow. It's okay to be angry and feel certain things, because there's a lot of awful things going on. And there's a lot of awful things that some of us have had to deal with and overcome, and or continuing to overcome. So, um, for me, like I said, the podcast and just meeting people like you and just everyone along the way, I try to surround myself. I always say, like, I like to have a clean bubble, and I try to, get rid of all the dirt and all the, the muck that's within my bubble, because I want clean air. I want to be able to breathe. I want to be able to have good people in my circle, because I don't need that. And if I have good positive people that are some sort of benefit I get from it, and that I can get, they can get from me, it really helps. That doesn't mean they all have to be best friends or lovers or whatever. It's just, if you have someone, like for me, my big thing is I love to just text people and just say, "Hey, are you okay?" Because that means a lot to people. Like from me, where I come from, and all the people I know that have real severe conditions and things. Because so many of us, even at our best, sometimes we get down and we feel lonely, or we just feel like our disability is kind of, kicking us in the butt. And if someone random or someone that you care about is just like, "Hey, you okay?" It's just nice to know someone is thinking about you.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. Um, I want to ask you about your experience um, being in this book and writing your story. And I know we had a fun situation where we just talked and we gave it to the editor and she put it together for us, which I'm excited to read again. Um, but I'm wondering, like, have you always been that open about your story throughout your life, or was there a time when you um, started really speaking out more than you had before?
Yeah, I'll answer all that at once. Like, I mean, even the reason why we did it that way is, like, I've been going through so many different, I'm not complaining, but I just been going through so many different health, like, scares and up and downs with my eyes, and just chronic pain and things. And then mental health comes with it. And sometimes I just check out because I'm just not interested in writing or doing anything, even the podcast. That's why I do so many ahead, because I
Mhm.
know there might be a day or two where I'm just like, you know what, or a week, I'm just like, I don't want to do this. No matter how much I love it, I don't want to do it. And so, you guys were able to kind of acquiesce me in what I needed, and I was very grateful for that. As far as experience, yeah, no, it was great. I guess I should answer your second part first to kind of get to that, because no, I was not always like this. I was not a leader at all. Like, if I was in high school and someone said, "Hey, man, that new, Eminem album is awful," and meanwhile, I would go, "Yeah, you're right." Meanwhile, it was on my iPod. It's just because I wanted to fit in. I wanted friends, because I went through bullying so much, and I had so many people kick and throw things and spit on me, and I mean, legitimately. And I just wanted friends. I wanted people to like me. And, eventually I kind of got decent at basketball, and, I had nice clothes and things. But it took a while, and it was the same thing with, like, I didn't bathe or anything. Like, it was a long time before I had to, like, actually start to try to want to be clean and to feel some sort of, happiness, and to take care of myself. And so I always was never a leader. I just hid. Once I found out, like, the techniques in school, because a lot of people thought, well, if you hide in the back of the class, no one will call on you. But that was always kind of like a misnomer, because a lot of times you could be in front of the class. You just pick a corner. I always went like one of the far corners, and I just stayed there, and I just kind of avoided the teacher's gaze. And I never, I mean, I had good grades and everything, but I didn't want to talk. I was afraid of anyone's judgment towards me. And so, no, I never did until a lot of discrimination, and until I started, working at a place where when I started to find my own individuality, because they hired other people with disabilities, I realized I went there, and I was not TJ. I was that group of people. We weren't different. They couldn't differentiate from us. We were the same person. And I had already had worked on myself, and to try to get myself out of this mental fog, and to be a better person, and to try to, grab myself from the depths of hell mentally. And then now I'm in this place where they're like, "Well, no, you're just like them." And it's like, I am like
Mm.
them in one way, but that's it. Everything else is totally different. And I had to realize, like, I need to take some leadership. I have to show why I'm different, and not in a way by putting them down, but show, no, I'm different. Like, I am me. I didn't fight for this for however many years at that point. I didn't do that for nothing. And so no, so then the podcast came out of that, some years later, and I just started to like realize that I needed to share my message. And in the beginning, when I started to share some of the things that I put in the book, it was really like frustrating, and I wouldn't say frustrating. It was very sad, and like, because I had to kind of relive it, and I actually had to tell more than just like one person, and I'm putting it out to the world, and I have to live with that. And so it really mentally drained me, but it was all good because now you can ask me the same things, or I could share those same things, and it's fine. It just rolls right off the tongue, and it's like, yeah, because I know it can help people. And being as honest and transparent as I can to help that one person out there who feels alone is all like, that's all that really matters. And as far as the experience of the book, like, yeah, like it was really nice to do it. And it was nice to find, I'm always looking for other ways to get myself out there and just to tell my story and to try to help people however I can. So all that correlates through the podcast to that. So that was a very comfortable situation because of, I was already at that point content with my story and who I am.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. I can relate to that because, excuse me, when I first started sharing some of my experiences, I couldn't get through a sentence without crying and be emotional. And then, you get to a point where you can talk about it without being emotional, because the more you talk about it or write about it or share, it helps you heal. And then we can be in a better place and use it for good. And I think you're right about that. I agree.
Yeah, that's what some people talk about in the disability community. It's just like, what is our superpower? And something I've been trying to figure out. I've started to realize like mine, because it's irony in a way, because I always say I'm a very visual person. And I notice a lot of people who don't have much going on in their life or don't have much problems in their life, the people who have the most sight tend to be the most blind. And the people who are the most blind visually see so much more. So the likelihood of me being biased towards political views or anything, or whatever, I am so open minded, and I can see a lot of things that are in front of most people. That's obvious to me, but to most people, it's like I can't see that. Whereas visually, and literally, most people who can see some things that are blurry to me, but are things that, nothing I can do about it. I can't fix that, or I'm trying to, but we'll see what happens in the future. But so that's kind of been like my kind of developed. Like, I'm starting to realize that's kind of my superpower, that I can see some things. Like, I pick up on things really quickly, and a lot of people, it takes them months to figure it out. And I'll take what I can get, I suppose. Any advantages?
I can see that in you just from our couple conversations, because you are very quick to answer or give information. Like, you're a smart guy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I put the link at the bottom of the screen is the link to Podbean, where you can find TJ's podcast and listen to it on your platform of choice. And I hope you all go there and listen and find some things that are inspirational. And then I also hope you will think about getting our new book that's coming out in September. And it will be, you can find all the information at therealizefoundation.org. And you can also apply there to tell your story if you're interested in writing in one of our books. And we also do virtual events, and we have book launch events. And so we hope to see you at one of those. And I'll just ask you, TJ, do you have any last words for the audience?
No, like I said, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And, as I said, if anybody's just going through something, struggling, just find somebody to talk to, and, just be brave
Yeah.
out there. I think there's a lot of people that are going through just horrific things, and it doesn't have to be the things we talked about today or anything close to what we went through, just something. And just
Mhm.
again, and just if you're a person who's not, just don't judge. You know, there's nothing wrong with being that person, that kid that is at the table with that other kid who has some weird, disfigurement or something that's off about them that everyone picks on. There's nothing wrong with sitting down at that table and just being friends with that person, because everybody needs a friend and everybody has a story. And just like I said, I don't know. I just feel like it's so cheesy, but we all just really need to be nicer to each other. And because there's some people that are really struggling and they're doing everything to hold on. And I don't know, somebody just try to help somebody if you can.
I agree with that. It's yes, we're all dealing with a lot right now. The world is a crazy place. Um, well, we hope to see y'all at our event. We hope you will get the book, and we hope it's helpful. And just remember that you are not alone, you are enough, and you are worthy.